are live for Hell of a Show on a Monday night, getting ready to have some fun on here tonight. Before we get started into all of the shenanigans that usually happen on the show, go ahead and let me know if you can see and hear me in the comments. I certainly appreciate it. And then if you're in here already, go ahead and get some shares out here, and let's go ahead and see if we can get some more people involved, because we got a great show planned out for you tonight. Hopefully y'all had a great day, productive, and did a lot of things that needed to get done, and did some things that keep moving forward. That's kind of a theme that we're going to be talking about tonight as well. But let me know if you can see and hear me over here, and make sure everything is green lit on my side. It looks like everything is good on there, and we're about to get started. So it is Monday night, Hell of a Show. It is April 24th of 2023, and we're about to go ahead and get the show started. Before we do, I just want to let everyone know that after tonight's show, I will be taking a little bit of a break from doing shows for about a month because of getting ready for my show that'll be coming up after we get married. There's a new show that'll be coming on there, and then reworks to this one. There is a book that'll be launched on May 30th. That is my first co-published work on there. And then on top of that, I'm getting married June 4th. So there's that as well. So there's a lot of things going on. Need to take a little bit of time off. But in the meantime, y'all will see some other things from me. But starting tonight, we've got some people up here we're going to introduce. So let's go ahead and start introducing people to the panel tonight. Let's start off with Rob Multari is here. What's up, Rob?
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for having me.
Hey, welcome back to the show. It's been a little bit.
It has been, yeah. How you been?
Oh, doing good, doing good.
Good.
All right, and we've got, let's see, we got Pat Shand is back here. Let's bring up Pat.
Hello, what's going on, everybody?
What's going on, Pat? Welcome back.
Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely. And speaking of welcoming somebody back, I mean, do we even really need to say his name? Everybody knows he's been on here. Mr. 17 himself so far. Tom Hutchison is here.
17, X7.
There you go.
I feel like Tom's like Candyman. You say his name 3 times or in the mirror. Or is it 5 times?
It's a good chance I'll show up, yeah.
Pretty good chance, absolutely. Now, before we get started into all the shenanigans that usually happen on the show and everything, let's go ahead and kind of go around. We'll start with Rob to Pat and then finish out with Tom. Go ahead and let everybody know who you are, what you do, and where to find you.
Right on. So I'm Rob Multari. I'm the creator and writer of Nightwolf and the spinoff series Snowpaw. I'm self-published through Lone Wolf Comics. I've been doing this for the past 5 years, and right now we're up to issue 7 with our main series Nightwolf.
I am Pat Shand. I write Destiny New York. My new Kickstarters are I Summon Cthulhu to fund my Kickstarter, and the new Cheeky Comics Annual. I run Space Between Entertainment, and our new imprint launching today, Cheeky Comics.
Nice. And what about you down in the corner? Do we even know who you are?
This is it right there. All the information you need. Tom Hutchison here, celebrating 13 years of Big Dog Inc., Critter, Penny for Your Soul, Ursa Minor, Scheherazade, Lights, Camera, Jungle, Kaiju, Epic, Antoinette, on and on and on and on. We just celebrated 10 years of Ursa Minor last year. This is our 13-year anniversary, so we're just doing all kinds of different fun stuff this year as we roll into Critterverse for next year, and then 15 years of celebration for BDI in 2025.
Awesome. All right, so tonight's show is going to be just a slight bit different to kind of give you an idea of what the shows are going to be whenever we do come back middle of June and start back up with the regular shows on there. Panel shows will still be the same, but we're going to start asking topic questions. And then at the end, go ahead and give the guests the time to go ahead and talk about giving their call to action on what they have going on their campaigns and all, and give you, ideas on how to get over there and how to back it and support it and do whatever you need to at that point. But we're going to be picking their brains as we go through and then tying it into their campaigns as well, if possible. So we're going to start off with one of the questions I want to bring up on here is in the comic industry, and of course, any industry that's out there, but we're talking comics. Keeping the relevancy, of being out there, your name being up there and everything, and being able to have it where people can go ahead and pinpoint and say, I know that Rob is the same guy that does Nightwolf comics. It just has to, it has to be cohesive like that. How do each of you work on the relevancy of making sure that that is a consistent thing that's out there and doesn't drop off too much? We'll start off with Rob on that one.
So for me, branding is a lot of it. I'm constantly putting, Lone Wolf Comics and Nightwolf and Snowpaw out there and making sure that the name is out there and associated with me specifically. And, just going out there, being on social media as much as possible. I mean, obviously you can't be there all the time. You got to kind of have to take a break, but I try not to stay off too long. Just being out there, being relevant, trying to post at least once a day, a couple times a day, showing artwork, posting something, just, your progress, and always, and everything I post, I always have like the logo on it. So, again, just trying to keep that brand recognition with what I'm doing and what I'm writing.
Absolutely. And we're starting to get more people popping in here. Submarine is in here on YouTube. Tim Ingram is over here on Facebook. And Pat, what does it mean to you for the relevancy? How do you keep it up over there? Because like you said, you opened up a brand new, part of your publishing side over there just today, a new, name on there.
Right.
And then you're starting to branch out now. So how is it that you keep the relevancy on both of these going on?
I think the best thing that you could do is over time create consistently good work. Don't let the fans down. Deliver, especially on crowdfunding. Just be communicative. Be a creator that people want to see the next project from. Let people feel like you are part of their lives. Like when I think of the comedians, musicians, writers that I admire, I think of them as, I care about their lives. I care what they have to say. I'm invested in them. I think that so many years, the comics industry has been so hung up on what's happening in Diamond Previews now because we were on this really DM focused mindset. But media has gone beyond that. People want more direct relationships with creators. So I think the more that we can make that direct relationship rewarding, the longer we'll have relevancy. And we won't have those issues like, you see creators who spent decades working for Marvel in their older years, they are asking fans to help because they're bankrupt. These companies have not set them up, have not betrayed them. The readers want to set us up. They want someone that they can be rewarded by for following for years. They want that. So all we can do really is make it worth their while. And I want to say too, shout to Submarine Treehouse is my man Armin Nassim. He is an associate of Team Space Between, and he has a new Kickstarter that launched today. It's called Martian Smoke.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did see that, and I also saw that you had a crossover promotion on there. I believe it's a print, is it not?
Yeah, so you can get one side, the Cheeky Comics annual side, on my new campaign, and Armin's side on his campaign. They both come together for a beautiful image by an artist named Choi Choi.
Nice. Now, Tom, we've kind of discussed this same topic on a few other times. I mean, if you've been on here so many times, of course, it's come up with you on several other ones. But the relevancy, I mean, you're coming up on a 13-year anniversary of BDI, and dealing with that, and already still, planning out so much further ahead already. How do you keep the relevancy not only current but moving, to the future as well?
I mean, basically, these guys kind of touched on it. It's a lot of it is consistency. You just kind of keep going. You got to get your next issue out. I mean, and listen, the reality is anyone can make a comic book. It's immediately 50% who makes issue 2, 50% who makes issue 3. So the more consistent you can be, and that doesn't mean you have to do it monthly, but the more consistent you can be to just keep putting out another issue, that's going to help you just endlessly. I mean, even me now, when I put out a new book, I still get people that are like, is he going to put out issue 2? I'm like, yo, I've been doing this for 13 years. We still have this problem where they're like, is issue 2 going to show up? Yes, issue 2 is going to show up. But it's sort of like a dual branding thing as well. So you want to brand your company or your book or your character, but you also, in this world, like Pat said, it's the social media world now, and you kind of need to brand yourself at the same time. So, and you can overlap those two things. Hey, I'm Tom, I'm Big Dog Inc. But it's also like, well, what is Tom like? It's Tom like movies? It's Tom like TV? Does Tom like video games? And that's where another way that you can connect to your audience beyond just what you're making is Tom likes Jaws. I like Jaws too. Awesome. Let's talk about Jaws on social media. So you have kind of that dual branding element, and that's what we've been doing. You put out your characters, you make sure that they are in the forefront and everybody knows what they are, who they are, when the book is coming. And then you kind of supplement that with, and I went to go see a movie today. Let me tell you why it's terrible. Stuff like that.
Hashtag Tom hates everything.
That's right.
Yes. No, I mean, it is true. I mean, you have to brand not only your product, you know, and your IP, but you have to brand yourself as well. Just simply because people are going to correlate your face with your product. That's exactly what you want to happen. Because whenever you do go to cons and you're sitting at the table, you don't want them to just pass by going, I don't know who that guy is, anything. I don't know anything about this. And the IP looks familiar, but I don't know if I want to stop and talk. You want to actually have it where it's already correlated and you can sit down and go, hey, that's Pat Shand. I know he's got the cheeky comics and stuff. Let's go ahead and have a talk about this. And then you can kind of go into it that way. It's the brand that's out there showing what you got. But more importantly, remember to show your character. And I don't mean just the characters in your book. I mean your character of who you are in this, because integrity plays a huge part in everything we do. And it's not any different, you know, than in the industry as well. Because if you say one thing over here and then you go, you know, you do a campaign or go to a con or something and do something completely opposite, people will recognize that very quickly, and word gets spread a lot faster on something that, you know, happens in the wrong side of the coin flip than the right side, shall we say. So you got to be careful of that. And that is one thing that definitely helps with the relevancy. And I believe it was Pat that brought that up about the crowdfunding, saying make sure that you go ahead and deliver on everything that you got on there. But it's not just the delivery. Being able to pay for something and delivering is one thing. Being able to get something in and feel what the creator felt, you know, in that book, whether it be in the pages whenever you read it, whether it be how it's packaged, i.e. whenever Tom uses 4 rolls of tape to package your stuff to make sure it doesn't get messed up, that shows, you know, that he's got a lot of care into what he's doing for everybody. Whenever last time I had you on, Pat, we talked about the situation where you had an issue. You were, you know, behind on getting some things out to some people and everything, and you were going nuts because you had no control over it. Of course, it was at the port. I mean, it's not like you can go over there and pick it up and figure out what container and, you know, go from there. But you were reaching out very regularly in the emails and making sure everybody was happy with what was going on and just knew and was up to speed and giving them options on some things. And that means the world to people to be able to do that because it shows your character in that. So what is something that you've kind of noticed kind of going through the years that you've picked up on that you've really built upon your character to really stand out more so that you get more relevancy on things? Rob, we'll start with you on this one.
I think for me, you know, being more out there and talking directly to my wolf pack, as I refer to as my audience. You know, I reach out to them, like I ask them questions. You know, I do surveys. I want to know, I want their feedback. I want to know if I'm doing something wrong, I want them to tell me. If I'm doing something right, I want them to reinforce that I'm doing it right. Because I could be like, oh, well, maybe that's not the right way to do it, you know? So it's a lot of learning along the way, picking up what they're, you know, what they like, you know, what they hate, what they don't like, you know, and just figuring out as I go. Instead of just being like, oh, this is how I'm going to do it just because this is what I learned from somebody else. It's, you know, it's also, you kind of have to listen to your audience and, you know, kind of feel for, you know, their enjoyment level or their displeasure or whatever. If you send something in like the wrong packaging, you know, it got totally crushed, you know, you need to know if you need to send it in something better, you know what I mean? You want to know, moving forward that you're going to do it right again, you know, the next time, so that you're not, you know, ruining books and without knowing.
No, absolutely. And it's the small things that you learn. I mean, I've had people that I know for a fact that I've interviewed, you know, a couple years back, and whenever they first started, they were doing pins, and they learned that the pins need to be put in a certain way, or else they will damage a book 100% of the time because it just gets moved around, bounced around. It either scratches it or, you know, stabs right through it because, you know, the backing comes off or whatever. So
yeah, I had to learn that with the Lego figures.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I remember that. I remember we're talking about that.
Yep.
And you don't think about that until it's actually time to get it done. You get it out there and someone sends in a thing saying, hey, something happened to this. What can we do? And you're like, oh, I'm definitely changing that moving forward.
All right. Yeah, exactly. And I, you know, if like in the case that happened, I had a couple of the Lego figures like scratched a little bit of the comic. I sent them a whole new comic. You know, just I was like, hey, that's on me. My bad. Get you a whole fresh copy, you know, and sign it. And there you go.
Exactly. Pat, what about you? What's your answer to this? I mean, what have you seen that you've kind of, you know, adjusted or seen in your character that you really built up there to stand out, to get your relevancy out there?
I mean, you know, I don't really think about relevancy, I guess. I just do think about backer experience again. I guess know when to adjust. Like you brought up, for example, when my books were being delayed by port, that there were a bunch of reasons. The United States ports still hadn't really gotten back up to speed after the pandemic, even though the rest of the world seemed to be moving at a regular pace. And customs was very slow. So I looked at the situation and I thought, all right, so I am paying less to ship to print overseas, but it's taking 3 to 4 times as long as it would to print in Canada, even though probably about half the price. So I thought, you know what? All right, so I'm spending less, but I'm also launching less because I'm waiting for all these books. So if I spend more and I have so much more time on every book, I'll be able to launch 4 times what I'm launching now. So what is spending double, right? So that's the kind of thing that I thought that would be net good for backers and for me as well. I'll be able to express myself more. I'll be able to make the business more successful. And I just noticed things on platform, like for example, on Kickstarter, when a creator whose campaign is not yet fulfilled doesn't update for 30 days, right? When the 30-day mark hits, backers will be able to see a little button they can press that says remind creator. So my goal is to have that button never pressable. So they never feel it. Oh yeah, where's Pat? Pat is in your face, dude. Pat is updating you. There's nothing to hide, and that's the thing that on Kickstarter, there's sometimes backers have been burned by other creators, and since it's newer than the idea of going to a store and buying a comic, I far more often see, oh, I was screwed over by 3 creators. 3 books were late. I'm never using Kickstarter again. Think of how many publishers are late. It probably happens, like 25 times every single week, but I rarely hear, I'll never go into a comic shop again, So I'm just cognizant of the idea that because Kickstarter and this direct relationship is a newer thing, that I have to be careful to tend to this relationship and to sort of almost overshare, so the backers who would be kind of hesitant to go all in are more willing to see that, oh yeah, this is not as reliable as a publisher. This is much more reliable than any publisher in the direct market.
No, absolutely. And it makes perfect sense on that, because you're looking at the situation and then making adjustments on the fly if necessary, just because even though it may save you some money, it's still costing you money. So you're looking at it as, okay, what is it doing? Because if you start losing backers, it's like being in retail. What's the point of being there if the lights don't turn on because you never have anybody, coming in to buy stuff to, pay the light bill? Right. People don't seem to see it that way. They think there's like these elves or whatever that come out, at midnight and make these comics for everybody, and that's how it happens. I never really thought that myself, I'm gonna tell you right now, but after, working on building what I've been doing with mine coming out and everything, I got mad respect for y'all. I'm only doing issue 1 here, and some of y'all are way up there, and I don't know how you still have hair. I mean, I've already lost mine from pulling it out. I don't know how y'all still have yours.
I was gonna say, what hair?
But I mean, it's something that you definitely have to look into and see where you can adapt and where you can move around, because you have to go based on what the fans are saying and what they're wanting and what they're happy with out there. It's not necessarily, they say, I don't like this character, change this character, go to something different. You don't have to listen to that per se. Right. But if they're saying, I got this in a, a cardboard mailer, and the rain got a hold of it and it, completely ripped it to shreds. And then you get, 15 more people that say the same thing. You won't be sending it in cardboard mailers anymore. You have to learn from that and move forward. So it definitely makes sense with that. And Tom, I mean, your relevancy is out there just because you're everywhere and on every show and doing other shows and doing other things on there. What made the change in you to go ahead and start putting where you're doing the She Seems Nice and the Tom Hates Everything and different things like that you've been doing? I mean, it sounds funny at the time, but it makes the relevancy happen.
Tom Hates Everything was not me. That was everybody else. That was everybody's telling me, why does Tom hate everything? I don't hate everything. But in the world of social media, sometimes shtick can be helpful as long as it's fun, even though Tom Hates Everything is sort of a negative thing, we turn it into something that's fun, and it can become sort of a talking point. Did Tom like this thing? Let's find out this week, on today's episode. And then if people agree with me, it's great. If they don't agree with me, that's great too. We can then we suddenly have this thread of people going back and forth talking about, nonsense, but it's just for fun. So, it's like we talked about with the branding of yourself, right? So all that came from okay, what am I going to post today? I just want to post like more art. Like everybody we do this all the time. How do we sort of break this up a little bit and have a little fun with it? So I went ahead and tackled Tom Hates Everything. So whenever I get Blu-rays in, I make a post like, well, apparently Tom hates everything, but somehow I have a Blu-ray collection, and here's what's new to the collection. And the She Seems Nice, I have no idea where that came from. I have no understanding of why I ever just put in hashtag She Seems Nice and posted a girl picture. I have no idea. It just happened. People responded to it. And I was like, well, again, we'll just keep doing that from time to time and make people happy. So sometimes your branding is not on brand, as they say, and it's just there for fun. And that's part of what social media is. It can't be hyper serious. It can't be hyper buy my book all the time. You've got to break it up and make it a little more personal. And so that's where a lot of that kind of stuff comes from.
And it definitely does. And you really hit the nail on the head whenever you're talking about, thinking outside of the box, because your brand can't be your way of thinking 24/7. And that's what everybody sees, because it becomes a 2 a.m. infomercial. That's all it is. Yeah. It's the whole, but wait, there's more. I mean, it's just going straight into that the whole time. And you want to be able to have where it shows the humanity between, behind the people that are actually creating these things. Again, not elves at midnight. That doesn't happen. So there's actually humans that create these things. And this shows what y'all are like, in person with all of this. So that's great to be able to go ahead and think outside of that and show that off as well. And that kind of leads into the next thing that I wanted to talk about is being a mentor. The reason I wanted to bring this up is because in the 4 years that I've been doing this, I have been paying attention to pretty much everybody that I've had on the show. Now, with the exception of Unscripted, because that was just for fun. We didn't listen to anything or pay attention or, write down notes or anything, except for Tom. He was writing notes all the time. But it was just a lot of fun. But I've been paying attention to everything and really paying attention to certain creators that are out there. And I do consider some of them to actually be mentors, simply because of the way that they present things that are out there and the way that they're doing things. Now, my thing with this is being a mentor doesn't mean you have to give the keys to the city. This doesn't mean that Rob's going to go over there and say, this is my trick. This is how I do this. And this is how I'm successful in every single thing. That's not a mentor. A mentor is whenever someone reaches out to Rob and says, I've got an idea that I think I might like to write a book. I've got this idea, and pass it by him. And he goes, okay, what if you maybe tweak a little bit here, there, yonder, and then try that? It's not a matter of him writing it for you. That's not going to happen. It's not a matter of him telling you exactly what you need to write. That's not going to happen. But it's a matter of kind of getting that back and forth, that you've got to play ping pong in this. It can't be a one-sided deal. Like, you can't just hand it over and say, I got an idea. Rob, take this. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to get the money, because that'll never happen. I know Pat's going to say absolutely no to that. If you go to Pat and you say, look, I've got this great idea. I want you to go ahead and take a look at it. Pat says, okay, but change this, do this. You know what? I'll go ahead and write it for you to be better. And then hand it back to him and say, you know what? I don't need the money. You go ahead and take the money. I mean, Pat wants the money. I know this. Tom wants the money. Rob, I want the money. It's not one of those things where you just give it away.
Me.
Exactly. Show me the money. But it's about putting in the work. So that's the biggest part about being a mentor, is you got to make sure whoever is coming to you as wanting you to be a mentor, that they're to be doing the work. So Rob, have you had anybody that's actually come to you or message you or anything like that has really kind of picked brain on some things, and you've had to kind of set that in stone, saying, look, as long as you're willing to do the work, I can go ahead and kind of push you in the direction you need to go?
Yeah, I've had a couple. I'm not sure if I should say names or not, but yeah, I've had a couple. One, a really new up and coming rookie, and she's been all over the place, and I've had several conversations with her. I actually met her at a con once as well. She's very, very enthusiastic, very go-getter, and I want to see her succeed. and she's got a book now. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to say it. Her name's Carissa Grant.
Yes.
She's got a book out there now called Where the Chaos Redemption. Definitely, if you get a chance, check it out. Some of the, her artist is young, and I've told her that, like, he's got great line art. His coloring is going to come along. Could even use some touching up, but in general, like, he's this young artist that she's working with, he's gonna be one of the greats one day, and he's just got to take that time because he's just fresh out there, and but she's very very enthusiastic, very go-getter. Just she wants to do all the things. Sometimes got to ring it in a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. And I just had the pleasure of having her on a positive influence show that I dropped. I believe it was last week. Whenever I had it on here, it was great because I had her on whenever I was her first ever show she was on. Whenever she did issue 1, she was terrified. We were in chat and everything, and she was like, I'm not sure about this. What do I need to do? Should I even show up? Do I need to be on video? Can I be on audio only? I was like, look, it's casual. It'll be all right. If you don't like it, we can go ahead because it's going to be pre-recorded. We can redo whatever we need to do. She had so much fun with that. I actually had to edit it down a little bit because it was over 2 hours, just because she was so enthusiastic, like you said. But being able to talk to her now is awesome. Going from issue 1 to issue 4 is what she's on right now. And not only is she as enthusiastic, but she has learned a ton moving forward, and she's mentoring other people. That's the greatest part about this is she went to you and had questions and things about that and looking for a direction on there. And she actually took that and not only absorbed it and kept it to herself, she's sharing it with other people as well, which is just above and beyond awesome as far as I'm concerned. So, I mean, that's very cool. I kind of knew exactly who you were talking about. So that was up to you. If you were going to name names, I mean,
I had to give her a shout out. I mean, she's definitely, I call her Rookie of the Year because she's just that amazing. And I want to see her grow and succeed.
Absolutely. And Timothy is here in the comments. I appreciate you being here, Timothy. Now, Pat, with you, has anybody come to you, asking you to be a mentor, and how have you had to go ahead and set the stage for that with them?
Oh yeah, I started using Twitter Spaces around this time last year, and I have found more promising young creators that way than anywhere else. Met people like Anthony Stokes, Chris Moses, Armin Nassim, who is in the chat here, Trevor. Complicated last name, FL. Just chill with him all weekend at Boston. Wicked Comic-Con Boston. Great guy. I think that writer-wise, those 4 are really interesting to me. Definitely been... I feel like just my crowdfunding trajectory leads people to ask questions a lot these days, especially because I'm also now running a business where I am running people's campaigns. I am essentially selling my advice, but I've never stopped giving it out. I'll do these 2-hour-long spaces podcasts where I'll just answer all questions because I feel like with crowdfunding, it moves so much that I never feel like I have said it all. If I've talked to you for 2 hours for free, you can still pay me for 2 more hours. And then on the artist front, I mean, I feel like I should start sending invoices to these comic companies. I am the greatest talent scout in the history of the industry. I feel like I'm seeing all these publishers. They're all filled with people who I gave their first gig to. I feel like I'm owed hundreds of thousands of dollars right now, But shout to them. That's what I want. I want artists who get their start with me because I see where they're going. I see the seeds of greatness, as you were saying, and I feel that there's a lot of greatness that's undiscovered because traditional publishers have trouble with seeing trends, that they're always catching up to the trends that other industries are really spearheading in comics. And I think that, it's been a really cool part. That is less mentoring and more collaboration, but I have been really proud to see people who have moved from fan art to my work to now the cover of Diamond Previews, Marvel, all that stuff. Patreon, just making stacks on stacks on Patreon. more power to them. But all these publishers, I'm going to start sending you invoices now.
Yeah, man, you and me both. It's crazy, right? It's crazy how the indie guys get poached after a period of time. It's wild.
Oh yeah, I mean, and kind of going off of that as well. I mean, I know there have been quite a few of my shows. That's why I do panel shows. This is not a thing where I do this up here and I pick and choose and I just have people up here just randomly or whatever. I do it because I want people to start kind of talking and maybe networking, at certain times.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting to the point where I've had several people on here several times. Tom has been on, most every show, but by having other people on there, some networking does happen on that. I mean, there's some people that I've had on the show that Tom has started talking to simply because we were all on the show together.
Of course.
And things happen, which is great. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to invoice him or anything. That's not going to happen. But it is cool that it does happen because things like this happen. Whenever Timothy says, thanks for what you do, Phil, that right there is why I keep doing shows. That is why. Now, it does not pay the internet bill. It does not pay the StreamYard. It doesn't pay for any of that stuff. But it keeps me motivated. And that is the biggest part of that right there. Because whenever people see that there's relevance in something that you're doing and treat you as a mentor for something that's out there, that is something you look into and start putting a lot of heft into and go, okay, there's something going on here. I really need to pay attention to what's going on. And I definitely see that. And Pat, you were definitely talking about that the right way, saying that, giving people a chance out there, because some people just don't have the name to get out there or the voice of their own to get noticed. And sometimes it takes that little push to go, hey, have you checked out this person? Look at their work. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to go over there and say, okay, look, I commissioned this work. I went through this stuff. Here's this guy, and do like a whole interview process and then, put him in front of somebody. Just put them in the right area and tell them they need to do the work at that point. And whenever that happens, it's up to them. The ball's in their court with that. Because it's not always going to be that just somebody can go ahead and take somebody and throw them in front of Brian Polito or Todd McFarlane or, anybody like that and go, hey, look, you need these people on your staff. It doesn't happen that way. I know that for a fact. I've had Brian on the show before and he said, you can send what you want. It doesn't always get approved. That's the bricks on it. I mean, that's the truth. He's not going to pull any punches on that. Tom's the same way. Tom, you get stuff all the time and you just kind of like, okay, good stuff and everything. I don't have anywhere for you right now. Keep working on it. You've done that before with another artist, and I will say his name because he means a ton to me, and he's no longer here, with David Fott. Because David Fott had come to you, and you denied a couple of times saying, work on it, and then finally he came in there and ended up coming up with a great cover on one of yours that got him Artist of the Year in one of the indie things that was on there for the awards. Greatly deserved. So sometimes it's just a matter of, yes, give them the push, but don't give them the key to the city whenever you do that. Now, Tom, have you had somebody that, you've had come to you as far as mentor and say, okay, look, I can tell you some things on here, but I'm not going to give you everything that's up here?
I don't think I've ever necessarily been a mentor in that capacity, but I am constantly swamped with questions, whether it's at a con, I get people asking about writing or publishing or whatever. I mean, I get messages from people on Facebook all the time. Well, they know I live here. So basically they know if they shoot me a message, I'm probably going to see it within about 2 minutes. So I'm constantly asking questions or being asked questions about, artists, sometimes for problems like, hey, I got this problem with this guy. How do I handle with this guy? So sometimes it's problematic questions. Other times it's production. Like, how do I do this? Like, how do I do these files? If it's an artist, like what size it's literally they'll ask the tiniest questions. Like what size, do I do this at what file type? I'm like, this is the easy stuff. But they literally don't know. So, that's a constant thing for me, constant. And it makes it a little tricky at cons when I have to answer a lot of questions because I'm like, I'm the only one there at my booth. And so if I'm talking to somebody and no one else is at the booth, that's fine. But then when people start kind of shuffling around, it's kind of like, well, we got to hold on because I got to sell books now. But yeah, it's sort of a constant flow from art to writing to publishing to problems. How do I solve problems? And even early on, I was getting guys that would come up with their portfolios, their art portfolios, like for reviews, and I'm like, yo, why are you asking me? Like I've been doing this for like a year or two, and what I realized was there's a very and I still see this to this day. There's a very distinct sense of anyone on the other side of the table, meaning a publisher, a creator, like they are there at the booth displaying their stuff. It's like we're elevated somehow over the guys that are just walking in, to the campaign or to the convention. And I've tried to tell people, like, look, we're the same way, guys. I mean, all I did was buy a booth. We've been doing this for a couple of years. We're on the same wavelength here. But I noticed that there's a very distinct sense of like, well, I'm on this side and you're on that side, so you must know what the hell you're doing, and I want to come pick your brain, and that makes sense. But I always try and kind of bring it back down, like, dude, I'm not doing anything that anyone else can't do. If you have questions, obviously I can point you in the right direction and answer questions. But at the end of the day, the doors are open for anyone to do this. And it's just a matter of how hard you want to work at it to walk through the door and find your space.
No, I mean, it's very true. I'm sorry. I'm reading the comments as well, because Dell is in rare form over there tonight. He's having some fun, but it's a matter of again, you got to put them in the right direction, but you can't do all the work for them. And you have to be willing to do the work on there. Now, I'm going to go ahead and answer Dell on this one real quick. There's a reason that I copyrighted the name Pantsless Productions. Just leaving it right there. Just you deal with it however you want to. He's got a question for Pat. Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't get into all the pain stuff. If I was asked by a nice partner to do either, I would oblige, because I'm a giving individual, but I personally don't choose that kind of action.
Listen, you give the real answer. Listen, I'll tell you what the answer is, Del. It's a pinch and a tug.
Oh,
it's a pinch and a tug.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh. Man, Dell is in rare form over there. Dell, go ahead and put your link over there for your show and let them know what's on the menu. See how I did that? That's a segue for you right there. But no, I mean, it's great to have where, if you're a mentor or if you're looking to talk to people, whatever, that they're open to do that, but just know you still got to do the work. That's my main thing that I want to focus on with that, is that if you think you're going to go into this and get a free ride just because you know some of these people, look, I know these people, and I haven't reached out to not one of them saying I want a free ride on this stuff. I mean, I've got a book that's about to be launching that I am terrified about, that I sure didn't, reach out to Tom saying, hey, Tom, at least throw the cat ears on there or whatever, and I'll get some people to notice. No, because I'm doing the work, and that's the way it's got to be done. So co-writing with Tim Ingram on this has been the work that we're putting in, and that's what you have to look at with that. So whenever I reach out to any of these people and ask for advice on things, it's legitimate advice. By the way, Tom, I'll be asking you about those sizes of files and stuff. Just throwing it out there. Now, the last thing that I want to
72 DPI, you'll be fine.
Okay, cool. There you go. See, I think this is one of those, the golf terms where you go out there to like the 19th hole on the green at, midnight or whatever type thing. Yeah, not doing that. But the main thing is hang on a sec. We got Sean Butler is in here. Evening all. Phil, you continue killing it with all the amazing guests every week. Another stellar group tonight. Appreciate that, Sean. We try to get, some great guests on here. We try to even get the newer people and get their faces out there and kind of get them some exposure as well. And that's what I like to do on the show with that. I mean, case in point, to be honest, Rob, I had you on whenever you had issue 1, whenever you were launching, and you're all the way up to issue 7 right now. So, I mean, I had you back whenever you started in that end on there. Yes, Tom, I would say I had you whenever you started, but I don't think I was born back then, so I don't even know. But and Charlie Stickney is here. All right, so great.
Hey,
appreciate it.
Charlie, what's up, man?
So the last thing that I want to kind of get into is legacy. this is a huge thing and a huge topic on here, because what you're doing is creating a legacy for yourself, for your children, for what, you know, for whatever you've got behind you moving forward, and that you want to see, have people see your footprints whenever you go on this. Now, the biggest thing with legacy, of course, is how you go about doing it. There's a way that you can, you know, step all over everybody that you want to and get to the top of this thing and put yourself up there and be at the top of the totem pole. People notice you, but they also notice how you got there. So with legacy, how important is it to kind of live vicariously, or whatever you want to say, through the old school values while you're doing your, you know, committing to your brand and everything? Rob, how is that with you? With legacy, how important is it to go ahead and have the old school values actually connected to both you and your brand?
You know, I think, you know, considering like when you're starting with a single like issue, and then if you plan on going further with it and turning it into a series or whatever, you know, that's something to build on. Even if you start with something like a mini series, and you can always do another, like, you know, volume or whatever. But as long as you continue to build and grow, you're expanding that legacy. And for me, like, I want to see this to be something that like my kids could be proud of me one day, you know, like even after I've passed, that they could either, you know, pass the torch and they can continue on with it, or it's something that holds enough, you know, name that like something that they can, you know, say, hey, my dad did that, you know. To me, that's like one of my biggest, you know, driving forces, because I didn't start doing this like as a, I guess, professionally, if you call it that, you know, until after my daughter was born, you know, over 5 years ago. Like, so she's my third child. And, you know, so to jump into comics after having 3 kids and, you know, trying to raise a baby while doing that, you know what I mean? Like, for me, it was like, hey, I wanted something that I could be like, I'm not just that guy that's going to die at a desk job.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, Pat, what about you? I mean, the legacy that you're creating over there, and you've got a diverse, you know, selection of comics, of books, and of writings that you've done and everything. What does it mean to you to go ahead and have it where you actually have your brand tied into the old school values, especially with integrity involved in there? Because you've definitely shown that in a lot of your, especially fulfillment and stuff like that. What does it mean to you on that end for your legacy?
Well, you know, I guess I'm trying to figure out the old school values of it all. I think that for me, if I were to say how I interpret old school values here, I would probably just say hard work. You know, you know, it's funny. I'll bring up something like recently I said I had a hard year last year, and people were shocked because my cat's going crazy over here. 2 people just watching he had publicly, he had the best year of his life last year. Like, what is there but success? And that's because I don't feel the need to fill social media with, you know, my complaints all day. You know, I do get personal, you know, I do open up sometimes, but I feel like there is definitely, you know, there's a lot of times where you'll follow a creator online as a reader, and instead of seeing about their work, seeing their process, seeing what makes them an interesting artist, you'll just see a lot of, you know, negativity, complaining, whining, honestly. And you'll see that from publishers too. So some of the biggest publishers are run by people who just whine all day on Twitter. And I don't want to be doing that ever. I feel like I have something old school, something old school that I do is that I also, I have real life friends. You know, I go outside and touch grass. And
what?
Yeah, bro.
Like with your bare feet and everything?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Maybe that's kind of old school, I guess. It should be, but I guess it is. So those elements, hard work, yeah.
No, I mean, it's definitely, I mean, the hard work has definitely got to be put in there to go ahead, and people will see what you do, and people pay attention to a lot more than what you do than you think. As a creator, you think you're just going to put something out there, get some money, and then just kind of, you know, do whatever you want to do off to the side, and then
buy
go back
a boat,
and ask for more money.
You know, summer in the Hamptons. Comics is easy, guys.
Well, I mean, plus you become millionaires. I know how it works. Y'all are just keeping it quiet over there. I see how it is. I mean, look at the ears that Tom's got. Those things don't come cheap.
Hey,
Listen, it says right here, Ariana Grande, right on the side. This is no joke. This is real stuff.
But I mean, okay, Tom, with you, what does it mean to you to actually have your brand associated in a positive role on there with the morals, with the values, should we say, the values that are attached to that for your brand, moving through on that to create your legacy?
Well, I think for me, the old school, what did you call it? What did you call it?
The old school values.
The old school values was creativity, right? Back when I started getting into comics, it was the 70s and 80s for the most part. It was hyper creativity going into the 90s. And that's the stuff that kind of juiced me a little bit to kind of be like, maybe I can do this. I think I'm kind of creative in some ways. It took me a long time to finally get to where I was making my own comics after that. But I used to draw when I was a kid, drawing comics and stuff. So the creativity element has always been there for me. And that's why I bounce around so much. Superheroes, Westerns, horror, fantasy, kaiju, Jungle Girls, like I'm everywhere. And so I think that sort of creativity buzz, everything from Big Dog Inc., there's literally something for everybody that we do here. And that was sort of a byproduct of just like me doing whatever I felt like I just want to write a kaiju book, so I'm going to do it. And here it is. It's on the table now. So the byproduct is no matter who comes to my booth at a con, I can point you somewhere and you're going to like something on this table. But that wasn't like the plan. It just sort of is what happened over 13 years now of doing this and doing this and doing this. And so I think there's a creative legacy with Big Dog Inc. that sort of spans genres and art styles and all kinds of stuff.
And it definitely does, and you can definitely see that in there as well. Now, to kind of get to where the wrapping up point on this, I definitely want to talk about your projects that are on here as well. But the way we're going to do this is, for one thing, with Rob, with issue 7, you've decided to change things up just a little bit. You've gone with the going through the giggities in there a little bit. Some of the covers, are a little more risque than normal in there. They're still, I mean, they look great, and Nightwolf has still got the exact same characters and things that in there, so nothing's changed on that. Mm-hmm. What made you kind of switch over to the change on there to add in more of that niche to it?
So again, going back to asking the Wolfpack what they wanted, and that was something that they were asking for, like legit, like they were. People were like, "Hey, I want to see some non-safe work covers of these characters," and I'm like, "Okay. If I do one, we'll see how it goes." So I did that for issue 6.
And they're going to take a mile after that, my friend.
Oh, I know. Yeah, exactly. So then issue 7, I was like, all right, well, you guys wanted it. We'll do more. And then we did. And it just, now it's like, okay, well, here we are. But I did have one hard, fast rule. I said, I will not do Snowpaw in any fashion that way. Like, right. Because because I have the spinoff series where it's mostly because I want to keep it more all age book, but also because I'm doing more like the bad girls as like the the non-safe covers. I want to keep her pure because that's really what she is. She's a purebred. In my story, she's meant to be in the wholesome side of things, even though she kicks ass.
Exactly, and that was one thing that I definitely want to bring up is that you're still staying strong to the storyline and the way that the character is supposed to be, and you're only taking the bad girls and kind of giving them, giving the fans what they want that away. So you kind of, you adapted to it, but you didn't give in fully, which is great, and I commend you on that because that way you didn't just throw out there and say, okay, you want them naked, here they are. And because other people have done that, and they kind of, the fans look at it afterwards going, I can't believe you did that to the main character. You're not supposed to have them that way. They don't express exactly how much they want out of this whenever they do that. So with your campaign for issue 7 that's on there right now, how many issues are we looking at seeing with this? How far is this planning on going?
So I have 12 issues in this story arc. I plan on making it ongoing, which that's been the plan from the very get-go when I first started. And kind of like what Tom was saying about having multiple things in different like genres. I have a bunch of different stories in my head that I want to do, but I had like, because of the limited time I had, I needed the laser focus. And I chose Nightwolf as the one because that was always going to be like my bread and butter, the one that I really wanted to dive into and keep going. So I mean, I have this thing planned out, you know, at least like, let's say like 3 seasons of a TV series or 3 movies, at least, you know. I mean, I could probably keep going even after that, but that's like how far that I kind of have like mapped out.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you got quite a bit. I mean, it doesn't stop with the action and the entertainment and everything that's in there. And how do you keep coming up with more storyline on there? Is there a certain type of inspiration that you're reaching out to, that you're grabbing a hold of to kind of move forward with this, or how exactly are you getting so much story out of this?
So the 12 issues has already been scripted. So those 12 issues are done and ready to go. But I had them done back in 2013. So as I'm lettering, sometimes I'll like update the like the you know, the dialogue a little bit, just because like, you know, going from like, you know, 2013 Rob to, you know, 2023 Rob, there's obviously, you know, I've learned a lot more of my writing and how to do better as I go. So I want to make sure that it's like the best it can be before it hits, you know, the pages. And so that's kind of like what I've been doing with that. But as Snowpaw, like when I'm writing, that's fresh. Like everything I'm writing for that series is like on the fly and going. And, you know, I do a lot of research, especially because it's a 19th century piece. Like I try to keep as much historical accuracy with the fantasy side of it. So like I'm just on the fly trying to learn, like, you know, like things that happened during the time period that I could play off of, or just like for matter of fact, like with issue 3 of Snowpaw, there's a scene where they're like kind of using the sewers, but like I needed to know like what the sewers were set up, you know, in that time period and how they were used, and actually the way I found out how they were set up actually played into what I was doing with it. So it's that kind of stuff that kind of helps with the writing when you find out like simple things like that. It's like, oh, that's awesome, you know. So just trying, you know, for me, it's like I also get inspired by a lot of epic things, you know, like growing up, you know, I got inspired by like a lot of fantasy stuff, a lot of Star Wars, sci-fi. Like I was inspired by a lot of things. And when I play, you know, Final Fantasy, I remember like when I was playing Final Fantasy 7, you know, back in like grade school, I was like, this is awesome. I want to do something like this, you know, like I felt that epic, like draw of creativity that I wanted to do something epic, and that like other people could get that same feeling, you know what I mean? So that's kind of like how, like part of my driving force, like through the years, writing these stories and, you know, putting them out there and hoping that like others can feel the same way that I did whenever I was, you know, digesting these other types of medias or comics or, you know, whatever.
Nice. And like I said, it's been a great story up to this point. I mean, 1 through 6 has been awesome. It definitely leaves you wanting more, and definitely a page turner going through it, and looking forward to seeing what's going to be happening with 7 on there. And then Snowpaw as a spinoff of this has been a great series with that. And you've been working with Mog Park, especially on that one, correct?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, she's been a great partner working on it with the illustrations. And Bruna Costa, who's our colorist, they complement each other very nicely.
Yes.
They make an amazing team.
Very cool. Now, I'm going to give you some time to go ahead and let everybody know where to find that and what's going on. And we've got the links already embedded in the feeds. We just want you to stick around to the end of the show, and you'll be able to click on those links directly. But I want to go ahead and bring up real quick, before we go to Pat directly, this one actually kind of ties into both you and Tom. So let me go ahead and bring this up on screen real quick. Tom wanted to show off something because he doesn't have a current project. I know it's just shocking to me as well. Tom doesn't have a current project, but he does have something in the wind. That is not shocking. And yes, I use that, pun intended, something in the wind. You saw that right straight into there. So Slipstream, go ahead and let us know what this is about here, because as I understand, Tom and Pat kind of worked on this one a little bit.
Yeah, so this is our this will be our July Kickstarter. It's our celebrating our 13-year anniversary for Big Dog Inc. And for those that know the history of Big Dog, Pat has worked for us a couple of times in the past. And I reached out to him. He was the first guy I reached out to when I was like, I want some writers to work with on this book with me. And I was like, I want to go talk to Pat. And I was like, Pat, you can do whatever you want. Just tell me what you're feeling. And Pat, back in the day, did a Slipstream one-shot book, which is a spinoff from our Critterverse. And he was like, well, I want to do Slipstream again. And I was like, done. Do whatever you like. It's open book for you. So Pat's never seen this. This is literally a world debut tonight. So this is one of the variant covers that we're doing. MR Gunn is the artist, and this will be July. So yeah,
that's really cool to see, man.
Now, Pat, what can you tell us about the character? Because I know Tom is going to silence you on a lot of things, because this is what, anytime you talk about BDI stuff, Tom's over there going, nope, can't say it. Nope, don't say that either. Can you tell us anything about the character that you can let people know?
I can. Slipstream is...
Nope, that's it. You stop right there.
Yeah, that one shot back in the day is so fun.
Yeah.
The very basic is that alien life form, she is inspired to become a superhero, not by seeing actual superheroes, but she sees this bullied kid drawing his crush as a superhero, and her essence dives into his drawings, and she emerges as a realistic version of this drawing, and that is Slipstream. It's this sort of imagination-based alien who finds human hope to be curious and inspiring, and I love her. When I learned through Tom's offer that I could pick anything, there are some characters who, when because I pitched for Slipstream and a few other characters, there were a few other ones that I was really interested in doing as well. But since it had been so long, it felt right to come back to Slipstream, because that was looking back, it was still one of my favorite one-shots. Early on in my career, about a year into writing professionally, I was brought on as staff writer through Zenescope. So I wasn't able to do a lot more work for hire for other companies after doing my short gigs for Big Dog Inc. And so I feel like I could have gotten to do more Slipstream before, but it just never happened. So doing it now felt right.
Nice. And of course, gorgeous cover. The synopsis for it, just sounds really cool on there, which you can tell, of course, because I know Tom's over there with a button ready to go and just shut down everything. He's got the master control somewhere. But it sounds really cool, and it sounds like an interesting storyline and a setup on there with this. And this is going to be part of the BD13, so the anthology series, correct?
Yeah, this will be a big 40-page one-shot. I'm writing the book that we've talked about for months now, Yeehaw Vampires, which is our Ursa Minor spinoff. And then Pat's doing Slipstream. And then Stephanie Menard, who is a friend of mine, she's been writing stuff for herself and other publishers for many years. I've known her local here from Michigan. Stephanie's coming on and writing a Princesses versus Zombies book that will introduce the new princess to the PVZ world. And that'll be the first appearance of the new Princess Jasmine in this book. So all of that is world debut information for you all.
Nice. Now that is very cool. Now I want to go ahead and tell everyone right now that normally the shows go for an hour. We're going to be just a little bit over on this one. And we're going to go ahead and blame Pat for this one, because he worked with Tom on that one. And then Pat not only has one campaign, but two running right now. So we're going to go ahead and give him a little bit of time. We're going to discuss about that a little bit, because I want to know about I Summon Cthulhu, because I read the description on your campaign, and I was like, I'm there. It's done. I'm a backer. It happened. To already know where things are going, how things are going, how they're going to write things. It's already been, ordained, as you say, type thing. How did you come up with the idea on this, and how did you come up with the premise, and how does it move forward on this?
All right, so I thought about trends on Kickstarter and trends that just have been in the industry for a long time. I follow them. Trends, friends have followed these trends, and I just thought that Cthulhu itself was a pretty funny trend. It's so weirdly specific. Like, a major trend that a lot of creators on Kickstarter follow in different degrees is sexy covers, right? I'm doing it right now. We all do it. At least we all hear
Everybody does it.
Yeah. And
this is as sexy as it gets right here. I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm convinced, dude. No, but like sexy covers, like people like a beautiful woman. You go, I mean, Zenoscope, right? There was a time where people would critique them saying stuff like, "Oh, like who reads these?" And the answer is women. If you go to a convention, the people who like that kind of character design are, there are men, but largely women. You see why manga is so hot right now. You have these sexy character designs. Women like those, period. So that trend makes sense to me. The Cthulhu trend was always mind-boggling to me because it's, again, so specific. It's a cool monster, cool idea, but these campaigns that were really hinged on it's Cthulhu, it fascinated me. So that made me look kind of deeper into what works on Kickstarter and trends. And I thought it would be funny to have characters that kind of embody these trends and make them into these dark gods that creators pledge to. And sort of make fun of myself for the trends that I follow, bring my friends in and make fun of them too, and do a sort of this is the end style comedy where the characters are actual creators, where I can comment on what's going on the industry in a way that is both self-deprecating and embracing the trends as well, Yeah, accurate. Yeah. I mean, you'll notice on the campaign, it's a comedy about a writer who pledges to a waifu goddess to bless his covers, and the covers of this campaign are blessed by her as well. So it's both making fun of while also entirely embracing the trends.
And it seems like a lot of fun, and it's also, comics are always about, getting out of whatever reality you're in right now to go into a fantasy world, but you're kind of taking that to like a fourth dimensional element on this almost, because you're taking it to fantasy, but it's still got some reality elements in there that are still fantasy, and it bounces around is what it looks like it's doing in there, which looks really interesting. Right.
And there's going to be moments that comic book creators are really going to feel seen by this. The opening scene is I go to a Comic-Con. I have my friend with me. He's helping me booth. And our table, we just have the one work for hire gig that I had 2 pages in. And we set it all up. And we look at these other booths. And we see guys like Raven Gregory, who has his comic Fairy Tale Fuck Tape. We have Travis Gibb and Russell Nolte, who have their Cthulhu campaigns. We have Charlie Stickney, who has his Horny Elf booth. And we see these booths succeeding and just drawing people in. And my booth at that point is just barren, right? And it's about that journey. And it's about the compromises that we make on that journey and how it's still along the way very fun, exciting, and scary.
So what I've learned from this, let me go ahead and real quick. Tim Ingram, I know you're watching this right now, and we're going to be working on a booth at your con. We need to make sure we have some. We need fairies and what
boobs.
Boobs. We need. What else do we need? We need other things like that over there so that we're not barren. Yeah. We can't be barren. No, that sounds really cool, and the way that you got that set up and everything with that. But the other thing I want to talk about is your other campaign as well, because you actually threw another, publication title over there that you started up with this one to go ahead and go, because this is going to carry your NSFW titles, correct?
Yes, there was. This came out for a few reasons. There are titles that I have on my main publisher, Space Between, that are being talked about for film, TV, and there was a definite push to have the not safe for work stuff on a different imprint, which I get it. So I took that, which could have been an L, and I turned it into a dub by saying, all right, so they wanted to be a different publisher. Well, I could do an imprint, have a friend of mine run it under my supervision, and then we could just do more. I could do more books that I was already going to do on my campaign. And then Cheeky Comics, which is run by Steve J. and Shannon Lee, and I can chime in there and answer questions as well. I'm still writing these. that can go on its own, and eventually they can bring in other writers too. Like for example, Cheeky Comics Annual is the start. It's called Cheeky Comics Annual 2023, and the idea is that every year of both my Space Between titles and Cheeky Comics will begin with an annual that has 3 stories. With Space Between, it'll be 3 stories from the worlds of upcoming campaigns. With Cheeky Comics Annual, it will be 3 stories from series that will be launching that year. So for this one, the 3 stories are Private Dance, which is a story about a New York City strip club, Only Friends with Pen, which is about an Only Friends content creator and her boyfriend, and Amorini Amateur Cupid. Amorini Amateur Cupid is about this sort of like hapless, sex-obsessed Cupid who sucks at her job. And that one came as a result of me saying to Steve J and Shannon Lee, we sat down together, and I was like, listen, I want to do a fantasy title. I had this idea for like, you know, a sort of like a horny Harry Potter type book. And I want to eventually do that. But instead, we talked and we got on mythology. Steve was really interested in that kind of stuff. And we settled on, first we talked about a Venus book. And then we moved on from that and said, what if Venus is the boss and we follow an underling worker, so she's kind of the underdog? And that became Amorini Amateur Cupid. So this is more of a collaborative page where while I'm still writing, there will be eventually titles that I'm either just co-writing or just plotting, maybe even. But yeah, it's the first time ever where I've had titles where I wrote freelance where they'll run while I'm running something, but this is the first time where I'm kind of letting someone spearhead my company's next wave, and while I'm still doing Cthulhu. So it's definitely been an intense day, and I'm pretty excited about it.
And Sean said that last story sounds pretty great. I mean, they all sound really cool in there, to be honest, but it's your very different, style of writing those in there. Because if you haven't read Cheeky, it's great. And the other titles that are in there with that, because what other titles do you have with Cheeky again? Remind me.
Oh, the annual?
Yes.
We have Private Dance.
Yes.
The strip club story. Only Friends with Pen, and Amorini Amateur Cupid.
Yes. So, I mean, all of those sound really cool and have great stories to them. And of course, the artwork is on point, no pun intended, as well. So yeah, it is. It's definitely a really cool stuff that you got on there. So I'm interested to see how this is going to play out for you. And you've got both of these going that are incredibly successful right now. Both of them flying off. I mean, you just launched the Cheeky Annual today, correct?
Yes. It is already my second best day ever of 30 campaigns, and that's just my personal and company campaigns. That's not including campaigns that I've run for other people. If we include campaigns I've run for other people, Terry Moore made probably my best day within the first 2 hours.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's understandable with that. Yes.
Yeah, he's an OG.
But I mean, y'all have got some great works that you got going on there and everything. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to each of y'all. Rob, you're going to get full screen first, and then I'm going to go to Pat on this one. And I've got your banners that I'll have underneath with information. You don't have to speed read and go through. All of these links are actually embedded into the feeds right now, so you can go straight over there. And of course, if you need the feeds and you can't find them for whatever reason, I mean, they're right there in the info, but still, if you can't find them, reach out to myself or any of these creators, and we'll be more than happy to put you in the direction you need to go with these. Before we get started with that, 2 hashtags that I always use at the end of the show, and it's very important that y'all know these. Number 1, get those fingers ready, because it's time to use the power of the finger, the correct one if you can. Hit that share button and get those shares out there, because shares are very important in many, many ways. One of the best ways is, of course, triggering the algorithm. Another one is simply morale. I mean, if a creator sees that other people are sharing out their stuff, that they, believe in their stuff enough that they're going to share it out for them, that's a morale boost right there. That keeps them where they're like, you know what? I thought I was going to be done at issue 7 with Nightwolf. I'm going to 8. It may be just that one little push to get them to, go over there. You never know. So you want to use the power of the finger to go ahead and increase the voice of the indies. That's the other hashtag on there. Larry Higgins always gets credit on this one, because he gave me that name a couple of years back, because it was an honor to have that, honestly, because he felt it was appropriate for me in my shows. declined it simply because I don't feel it's something that one person should have. It's a conglomerate as far as I look at. It's a conglomerate of people working together to increase the voice of the indies. So use the power of the finger, increase the voice of the indies, and start with Rob Multari right now. He's going to get full screen and let you know why you need to get over there. Nightwolf 7 going on right now.
All right, so let me hit present. Probably should have queued this up a little faster, huh? All right. So, so here's Nightwolf issue 7. It's an urban fantasy werewolf coming of age drama about a young man who finds out that he's born a werewolf, gets thrown into a supernatural war against demons, witches, vampires, other werewolves. Right now we have 17 days left. We got 308 Wolfpack members, and we're growing as well. So, we got some of the great covers here by Carlos Herrera, just kind of flashing through to give the potential pack member an idea of what some of the great art that Carlos, who is my illustrator on the book. Then we also have the previews of the page itself scrolling through as well. So you can see that there's also gorgeous insides as well as the outsides.
And just to bust that myth real quick, let everybody know that if you get a book in, it's not just the cover. You actually crack that thing open. It has pictures and words in there that make it even more interesting. Just throwing that out there.
And yeah, so we have a synopsis for each issue. That way, kind of like the old school, go into a comic book retailer, flipping through, seeing if this is something that you might enjoy, leaving you a little bit on the cliffhanger, and come in read the full pages for the issues. And then again, like I said, we have issue 3 now as well, scrolling through. So the page was getting kind of long with all 7 issues, so I combined the pages into the animated GIFs to kind of save the scrolling. So that was a nice touch that I did today, because man, this thing was scrolling for days.
Well, that way nobody has to ice their finger from scrolling on the mouse or anything.
Yeah, right, exactly. So we, as we get through, Rodney Marcelli, who is the young man who discovers he's a werewolf, goes through his little training sequence with Snowpaw, who is his mentor, while the FBI is hot on his trail. And then we also get some, werewolf vampire action as well, coming through into issue 6. I mean, who doesn't like a werewolf with a shotgun and a sword, right?
Exactly.
So then here we kind of get issue 7, where they're starting to take the fight to the Dark Covenant. As Snowpaw hands Nightwolf her mentor's armor, and he gets all suited up and ready to roll.
Nice.
Yeah, so right now we got 5 milestones unlocked. With each 200 backers, we'll unlock another. We also have stretch goals, so we're getting close to the first one for those to unlock as well. We got the Wolfpack here, just kind of showing that I'm very appreciative of my Wolfpack, and I want to show them as well, enjoying the books. And they're sharing the socials, giving that little social proof there. So you can get so if you have been backing and reading since issue 1, and you have all 6 issues, you can get yourself a digital issue for $5. You can get the physical for $15, and you get the digital as well, and shipping included. Then if you like variant covers, as we all do, you can get the the gorgeous ones that featuring different characters or different parts of the story throughout. You can get a digital catch up as well for all. So volume 1 contains issues 1 through 4. Phil, you may recognize that from our time when we were putting that out.
Yes.
As well as, so we have, 5, 6, and 7. And we have the Chris Williams cover. Of course, Chris Williams and I, every time I have a campaign, he's definitely going to do a cover. He's amazing. I love his werewolves and his art in general. He does a great job for his covers. We also have a Lone Wolf Comics digital collection, so you can get all of the Nightwolf issues, as well as the 2 current issues of Snowpaw by Mog Park and Bruno Costa. And then speaking of Bruna Costa, she colored this piece by Envu, who is another up and comer. And this kind of shows a little bit more of like the kind of like tense moment, when Nightwolf is wearing Snowpaw's mentor slash deceased mate's armor. So there's kind of a bittersweet moment happening there. And then we get into our sexy covers featuring Courtney Rose, she's the artist, as well as her, December Lace, and Ivanette. They are kind of making a cameo appearance in a 2-pager. So I had 3 witches in this issue in 2 pages that I needed, designs for, and I thought, over the summer I saw one of them saying on Facebook that they were doing so they were saying somebody should draw them in like vampires or something. I was like, hey, what about witches? So that's kind of like how this came about, and so they became the faces of those witches in that scene, and they also get undressed as well. So then we also have retailers. So if there's any retailers out there who already have the first 6 issues, you can get just the 20 issues of issue 7 for your stores. And later on, I'll show we have a retailer as well. This is the catch up. So you can get all of the single issues, issues 1 through 7, the standard editions, plus all the digitals. This is, basically these are the standard retails. Great way to catch up. For those who like the physicals like I do. I prefer physical over digital. I know there's a lot of you out there who do as well. You could get both copies of Courtney Rose's covers, as well as so you can then get the variant covers as well. There's a catch up there. The retailers, I was saying, you can get 5 issues each of all the single issues. For your retailers who are out there who want to get into the Lone Wolf Comics universe. And then we have, more, limited variants. I got a couple X-Men homages as well in this one. And then you can get all of issue 7. If you're that collector who's been getting all of the variants all along, this is a good one for you. And then we have extremely rare variants that have very limited amount left, as well as exclusive variants that are only going to be available on Kickstarter here, which includes the connecting cover and the Envu cover. We have mystery boxes where you can get mystery high-end variants, as well as a mystery CGC. We have the safe cover virgin variants. We have if you like to have a lot of boobies, this is for you. You can get issues 1 through 6 or 1 through 7 with boobs, and other things. And then we also have what I like to call the Wolfpack Omega member tier, where you can get the newest Lego figure featuring Tartarus, my demon character, a brand new T-shirt, and a zip-up hoodie with embroidered hat, and the back of the zip-up has printed art as well.
Nice.
And then we have the big mystery box that you can get a mystery hoodie, mystery hat, mystery pin, mystery face mask, mystery Lego figure, T-shirt, all of the mystery issues, including Snowpaw, and the mystery graded cover as well. So these are all great values. Best value here is that you get all of said merchandise plus all of these piles of variant covers that we have for all of the issue 1 through 7, as well as 1 and 2 of Snowball. And then you can also, on top of that, if you wanted to get a commission by Carlos Herrera, who is an amazing artist, that is our high tier. And then, obviously we have stretch goals. You can get sketch covers. All of the mini figures are available. The brand new plush toy that's coming. It's on its way. It should be in by June from China, or at least I'm keeping my fingers crossed that there's no issues in the like Pat had and that I've had with my trades in the past. Speaking of the trades, we also have the gorgeous die cut.
Yes.
There, the standard by Carlos Herrera and the Chris Williams Virgin variant. We have metal covers for each issue of Nightwolf, as well as 1 and 2, all the way for all of the variants for Snowpaw. And then we have, if you wanted to get caught up on the not safes individually, just because you like, those particular, we have Ryan Kincaid, we have Lena Day, we have Daxina D, we have Miguel Angel Ruiz, Hedwin Salazar, and another Lena Day. And we have, if you just wanted to get a T-shirt, hat, mask, the hoodie by themselves, you can get them there, as well as original art up for grabs. So we got
Nice.
some pages. We have crossover prints. We have original covers. The original from Chris Williams, Hedwin, and we have Fabio as well. And then we also have what I call vanishing tiers, which this is the last. So Wednesday at noon, these ones will go away. So each week at Wednesday at noon, I will put new tin signs, new framed wall art, and new prints and metal prints as well. So you have until Wednesday at noon to grab these current ones. So if you want rare and limited edition art, these are a good way to grab some, and then you'll see what's coming on Wednesday.
Very cool.
And then, of course, we got the awesome creators, Carlos, Gat, Melvin, Fabio, Eduardo, Chris Williams, Anvu, Courtney, Ryan Kincaid, Lena, Daxina D, Miguel, Hedwin, and then all of the past artists who've worked on our covers as well. So I like to make sure they get the shout out, and as well as the colorists. I'm going to make sure the colorists get their shout out as well. And I like to do crossover, so we also have a crossover print. If you back, these are like several different creators out there. Right now, there's only a few of us that are live. The other ones are either gone or not. But check out Sunmaker 1 through 3, Tart 15, crossover divisions, and Camilla Unbound. So, and that's the gist of things. So basically, as a whole, join the Wolf Pack. Come read some great werewolf kick-ass stories. And if you like boobs, we have boobs for you.
There you go. There you go. I mean, can't go wrong with boobs. Speaking of boobs, oh no, I'm sorry. Niobe's here. What's up, Niobe? No, I appreciate you being here, buddy. And I already gave you a shout out earlier, and yes, it was a positive one, so you don't have to worry about that. Now, Pat, what about you as far as what you've got? Go ahead and let people know what, they can go to over there and let them know about the 2 campaigns that you got available and what you have available for them over there.
All right. Yes. You can go to tinyurl.com/Cthulhu funds for I Summon Cthulhu to fund my Kickstarter. We have beautiful covers. We have a main cover by Sergio Quijada. Lyrics is doing great covers for it as well. Patrick Mulholland, Lucas Strati. And then on the Cheeky Comics Annual, also beautiful covers by many great artists, including Othala M, Zine Me Art, Eva Solo, Luana Vecchio. We're going to be revealing even more. Metal cover by Connor Hughes of White Ash fame. We're doing standees for the first time on the Cthulhu campaign of our Death Goddess character. Still a 90s parody. And Cheeky Comics imprint, brand new. It's going to be eventually monthly. Right now, it's just the start. Launching 3 new series. And thank you for backing, if you have.
There you go. Let's see. We've got a couple more things coming here. So we got a BC raid going on. Okay, here we go. So we've got Gage the Wolf is in here. We got Pete Vasquez is in here. What's going on, y'all? Appreciate y'all being here. All right. So, y'all got here a little bit late, but we're running a little bit over. So it's actually working out pretty good for y'all. So it looks like I've got something else to show back here in the background. Tom wants me to show something on here. So let me show this. Yes, there you go, Tom. Talk about it.
So this is not live yet. This is going to be our annual Goth Day thing that has become an annual event for us. Started in our 10-year anniversary back in 2020 as just some variant covers. Everybody loved it, so we actually created a goth world for Big Dog Inc. characters to exist in, play together in the same sort of sandbox. So this is issue 3 coming out May 22nd. Myself, CB Zane returns on on art. Gat Melvin on the colors. You can see we have our goth version of Rookie versus Antoinette there on the front cover. those that have read Goth, they know that each of these things kind of is its own story within this larger dark world. This one kind of focuses on the idea of what does creation look like. And I think it's got kind of some deep story points to it, which will be fun to match up with, the crazy superhero / goth world that we have going on here. So this is my next thing, and this will be May 22nd. And then we skip June and we go into the BD13 anthology with myself and Pat and Stephanie Menard.
Nice. Now, usually I don't talk about my stuff or anything, but we're coming up to time where I've got to start promoting, and I would like to make some money on mine. So I'm going to go ahead and let people know we've got Voices in the Dark coming out. I am co-writing this with Tim Ingram on here, so it is going to be a Dark Enterprises / Lost Hope Entertainment published out there for the first time. Voices in the Dark is basically the Tonight Show meets the, what's the easiest way to put it? Tonight Show meets the, it can be supernatural. It can be different things like that. The host that's on there interviews entities that are within the supernatural realm, and there are layers that are peeled away that let you know a little bit more about the host background, a couple of the guest background that's on there. There's always going to be a twist on there to where there's going to be a guest that's going to be on there, and the next issue is going to be another guest, and they always have a conflicting something or another going along. The really cool thing about this is issue 1 is co-written by myself and Tim Ingram. Whenever we start going with this thing, issues 2 and 3 are written by me alone. Tim Ingram picks it back up for 4 and 5, and so on and so forth. So while we keep this thing going, you're going to get different perspectives on the book that's on there. So this will be launching on Kickstarter May 30th. Be watching for that one. And we've got some great surprises for you to talk about in there. And we got some great talent that's already working with us on this, on Team Voices. And I am excited to announce all of this officially next week on Hell of a Show. We're going to have a special Hell of a Show. It's going to be a Hell of a Voices show. So that's what we said? Yeah, that's what we call it? Okay, making sure. I'm hearing Voices. We're just making sure it's the same title we won't go with. But yeah, so Hell of a Voices show. So be ready for that one. But I want to thank everyone that's been here tonight and taking the time to be with us to talk about the topics we've been going through, to go ahead and watch everything going on with the 3 campaigns we got going on. Pat, you're throwing me off a little bit on that one. So Pat's got
He's got to make up for me. I got nothing happening. So he's got
okay. That's exactly. Yes, that's exactly.
So I'll take the credit for the one.
Exactly. So, I mean, y'all have got some great projects you got working on right now, and I want to appreciate, I appreciate the audience for going ahead and paying attention, asking questions, getting involved in this. Even you, Del, I'll go ahead and give you credit on that one, for being here and asking certain questions, because Pat wanted to know how he wanted to be twisted or pulled or whatever. So, hey. But it's great to go ahead and have y'all out here and increasing the voice of the indies the best way we possibly can. Get those shares out there, get things going, get over there and support in any way you possibly can on these campaigns. Remember, power the finger, get over there, get those algorithms going, and make sure they know that it means a lot to them whenever you share things out as well. So get over there, find out what's going on, share it out, and let's get some people over here to the indies and find out what's going on from there. Aside from that, I get to say what I love saying at the end of every single show, and I'm going to keep doing it until y'all tell me to stop it. But stay positive out there. Keep it indie, y'all.